What's up, guys? Andy, Forester Dean Runner here, and I am back with another When Collaborators Collide series. And today it is absolutely awesome because I am joined by the one and only Flo and Nord from Flo No Trail. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
No, absolutely.
Really appreciate it today. So what I'm going to do now, guys, for all of you who are tuning in and watching, today we're going to be talking to Flo and Nord about, obviously, you know what the series is about. We're going to talk about videos, the technicalities of things, hardware, software, inspirations, and all of that good stuff. But first of all, just before we do that, I'm just going to jump into YouTube and I'm going to see who is online. Guys, questions, get firing them in, and we're going to talk before we get technical. Obviously, for those of you who do know Flo and Nord's channel, you will know that they have recently completed a 100k race, and not only that, but it was surrounded by unfortunate circumstances leading up to the race. If you guys obviously have been following their channel, you know Flo had a knee injury and Nord was rather ill leading up to it. And so it was a bit of a last minute decision. But guys, obviously your race went beyond to plan, thanks to tailwind by the sound of it. Do you want to just talk us through a little bit about how that went?
For sure, yeah. It was about, I don't know, maybe we got to the end of the training, which was about maybe 3 weeks out, and I think we'd gone for one very last pre-taper, I suppose, walk up one of the local mountains, and the very next day we were both hit with I was hit with like just the worst flu I've ever had, which lasted, I think, somewhere, you know, around about 2 or 3 weeks, and I think I was just getting over it just before Wednesday, just before the race, and the race was on Saturday. And Flo's got an autoimmune disease which affects all sorts of things, mostly joints, and and you have things with your eyes where your eye gets
the iritis.
Yeah, that's right. So those sort of things, but it was your knee this time.
And very annoying.
And you'd had it before, hadn't you?
Oh yeah.
Was it the same knee or different knee?
It's the same. It's always the same knee. But yeah.
So that was not looking too good there for quite a while, and even on the Wednesday, I don't know, we were somehow or other in sync, you know.
Not running.
Yeah, both not running. I was just down in bed with the flu, and your knee was about the size of a football or a mountain or whatever, and it was on the Wednesday before where finally, I think it just sort of started to have this sort of little window of maybe hope where we thought this is going to work out okay, and we thought, you know, we've paid for it, we've hyped it all up online too, you know, said people were going to do it, and which I suppose is one of the reasons for doing that anyway, you know, make it public and make yourself accountable and so on. So yeah,
definitely. I think that's something that we as YouTubers kind of have to understand, is that when we say something, it does hold you accountable. And I think personally it's a good thing, because there are a lot of times, I think, if you don't hold yourself accountable, that it's easy to back out of. But I do remember watching that penultimate episode and you saying that you guys were going to make like a last minute decision, and I know that we'd had a couple of conversations before that, because I had a race that same weekend and you were going to be completed before I was started, but we were both saying, I said we had this snow coming in, is the race going on? You were like, I'm injured, I'm ill, Flo's knee, and it was just kind of, everything was up in the air. I'm so glad you did it though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing for us though was like I don't know, it's you put so much training into it. I think that's what it was all about. Like, you put so much training into it. Both of us had felt that we could do quite well, that we would perform well, and we don't do all that many races, you know. So I think the last one before this one was 2016 or something. So this one was the beginning of 2018, and we put so much, we'd even dropped out of YouTube for a couple of months just to concentrate on training, because we didn't think we could film the way that we normally film. So then to sort of be hit in the head with that hammer of, you know, not being able to perform to the best of your ability. In the end, I think it took so much pressure off us, because we thought, oh, well, look, we'll just run together for the first 25K, see how we feel. And by the end of the first 25K, your knee was okay. I'd taken it nice and slowly, and I felt pretty good. So just sped up from there. And I think the amazing thing was, for me anyway, especially just that all of the preparation that we'd done had worked out so well that the as you said at the beginning there, tailwind was just really our saviour. I mean, we'd made a video a few months ago joking about it, really.
I remember. It was brilliant. I was going to touch on that because you said, we're going to test tailwind today, and you went out and you didn't use it, did you?
I didn't know. I didn't drink anything all day. So it was meant to be a really comprehensive kind of review, but I didn't get into that. And then we had a few conversations with Jenny in the States, who's the Tailwind rep or Tailwind, I don't know, she's the owner of it or something, co-owner or something like that. She got in touch with us after watching the video and had sort of talked us through about using some of it. And the guy from over here, what's his name, Gavin Markey, he talked us through some of the strategies we could use for using it, and that really helped. And where other people were standing at that table in the aid stations thinking, you know, oh, what do I feel like eating now? What do I need? Do I need some savoury? Do I need some sweet stuff? What do I need? And we were just like, you know,
just in and out.
Fill up the tailwind bottles and we're away. No wasting time. It was brilliant.
That's so cool. And I think it's a testament to your training in the beginning, as you said, and a lesson to runners that if you miss a session, but you've done the groundwork, don't panic. I mean, you've done, as you alluded to, so much training before that, you know, you got sick and Flo's knee flared up, that you had this massive base that actually, although, yeah, you might have lost the minutest bit of fitness in those last couple of weeks where you hadn't run, you had so much foundation there that really it just didn't matter that much. And it completely, as you said, took the pressure off, which is sometimes the best way, because we all heap pressure on ourselves and think, well, I'm going to go and run this for fun, but I'd love to do it in this time, or I'd love to do this or that. And I think just stripping all that away, as you said, and say, hey, let's run together for 25K, see how we feel and go from there, is just a brilliant way of approaching it. And as you said, it all worked out in the end.
It did, yeah. Oh. we both got the sort of time goals more or less that we were after. I wanted to get in before it was dark and manage that, and you did sort of more or less what you wanted to do. You know, we were both really stoked. I think, and, you know, long enough that over the course of, you know, you're out running, you've got enough time to sort of readjust goals and all that sort of stuff. But no.
That's awesome. That's brilliant. So before we get onto the technical side of this, because I did just obviously want to ask you this, you say you don't race a lot. Now you've done that 100K. Anything else planned for 2018 race-wise?
Planned, I don't know whether we've got anything planned just yet. Our life. What's that?
Anything you have your eye on, which you're thinking about?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, we're thinking about a 100-miler, obviously. Well, I don't know whether obviously is the right word, but I suppose people think about it that as being the next step. And, you know, there's all these people who go from couch to 5K, and then you've got their eye on the 10K and the half marathon, the marathon, and so on, and work their way up. So I suppose it's a kind of a logical step. But as we were saying to the tailwind guys, you know, it's a thing. You'd like to be able to test it out. People said to us, yeah, tailwind was good, but it was only 100K, you know. How would it go over 100-miler where you're out, you know, for a long time? I can't see it being a lot different, but so much can happen in 100 miles, you know. And
to be fair, a lot can happen in 100K. I mean, that's 60, is that 60 odd miles, 62-ish?
Yeah, a bit over 60, yeah.
It blows my mind. It really does blow my mind, that level of distance. I mean, it's a different, you have to approach those types of races with a different mindset of, I'm a really competitive person, unfortunately, and I have these goals and times and everything that I like to try and hit and achieve. And I suppose a lot of that has to go completely out the window when you race these sorts of races, because it becomes suddenly a lot more tactical. It becomes a lot more, well, hold on a minute, I've got, you know, you do 10 miles, I've got 50 miles to go, or if you're in a 100 miler, I've got 90 miles to go. This is a hill. I might do this hill, or, you know, fishing, you've got to be a bit more savvy.
You're certainly going to be walking some hills, that's for sure. But there's I don't think either of us thought that way, did we?
No, I didn't.
You didn't really think about. You don't think about. I think if you start thinking,
the whole distance, that's a bit too much.
Yeah,
it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it's 25 to the next stations. And
yeah. That was your way. You said sort of think. I think from one aid station to the next. I have this little trick too, where I think we'd run in training. We'd run a little bit of the first one. I thought that too. And we'd run the third stage completely. Mm-hmm. So we said to ourselves, well...
And we saw the finish.
And we knew where the finish was going to be. So we said to ourselves, you've only got to run the first 25K. Well, that's easy to do. Yeah. The second 25K is the stage that you have to do. Once you've done the second 25K, you have got the third one, which you know anyway, so that's easy. And then you're there because you've only got to run home.
Yeah, and 25 is easy. It's not a distance.
But it's easy. I love your attitude. You both have such a good attitude when you approach these things. It's so chilled out, laid back, and I wish I was more like that. I really do. Right, let's get into the juicy bits. Let's talk about the technical side. Let's talk about obviously your channel first. And just before we do, we have a few people saying hello. We've got Jeffrey, we've got Rich Bays 187, we've got Chris Furlong, we've got a Runner's Ramble, and many more people watching. So guys, if you are watching and commenting, if you have questions for Flo and Nord, post them in the chat. And then I can ask them shortly. So we're going to get on to the technical side of things. So guys, what spawned the idea of your channel first? What made you want to start a YouTube channel?
There are two things probably. Like, I wanted to have a diary of sort, and I wanted to have films to look at, but not use storage.
Yeah.
I think that's
huge. I mean, you need so much storage for this films, and it's huge.
And photos and all that sort of thing. Yeah, and we've gone through like a stage of taking photos and trying to store them in various cloud services that then died, and you know, we lost so many photos of cloud services that died. Yeah. So we thought, look, you know, let's film stuff for us, but then post it to YouTube so we can, you know, have a record of some of the runs that we've gone on. Mm-hmm. And then in the lead up to the Transalpine 2016 or whatever it was, we decided, look, we'll make little films, and I think they're only about 1 or 2 minutes long, most of them. And the idea was just to keep a record of our training, keep a record of what we're doing, so that we could look back on that.
Yeah, especially the one in Austria. They were really good to have.
Yeah, I think so. And then I suppose what happens is you start making them, and you think maybe try and do that a little bit better, and then always trying to improve what you're doing a little bit. That sort of, I was sort of thinking about this idea of perfectionism. Not that what we do is by any stretch of the imagination perfect, but you're always trying to increase, make it better somehow or other. You know, that sort of thing. A bit like training, you're always trying to get to that perfect state of being trained or whatever. Not that we ever reached that, but yeah. So that's it really. It was just like a record for us, more or less, and hopefully somebody else might want to watch it.
I mean, you live in one of the most beautiful places I've seen, and you showcase that amazingly. I do say to you on a regular basis, I think this is why I was really excited to have you on the show, because I feel that you and Dan Whitehead are two YouTube channels at the moment that are really pushing the envelope in terms of the creation of the videos, the storytelling in particular. I mean, I always say to people that I talk to, and people say, how do you grow your channel, how do you do this, how do you do that, how have you got followers. I mean, I'm a relatively small channel, you know, in comparison to the big scheme of things, but I always say to people, you need to find what you're good at. And people I find tend to follow a channel for specific reasons. They either follow for the journey, the cinematography, the story, the charisma of the people. There are various aspects. I don't have the cinematography. I'm not a natural cameraman. I'm not, you know, I'm not like you guys. I'm not that way inclined. But I think people follow me for my story, whereas you, I think you have everything, and that's what makes your channel, and I think Dan's channel, you two literally are channels that when I get a notification say you've got a video, I've got to watch it straight away. The levels that you put in, and I think you know, you do it every week. You kind of outdo yourself on a video every week. I mean, that video you've just released of the windy, I mean, that was insane. That was insane wind, and you could, if I filmed that, I couldn't have portrayed that in such a way that made people go, whoa, that was really windy. I just couldn't have done it. But you, I mean, the way you stood on that rock and put your arms out and leant forward, and just the way you did everything, it was just phenomenal. I mean, I've got to ask, and you may or may not have talked about this in the past, but what's your background with filming? Is this all self-taught, or do you have some kind of previous experience from work, or is it just everything you've learned?
We've got absolutely no idea what we're doing whatsoever. We've been outed here. We've got no idea. We just sort of do what we like, I suppose. And you said actually earlier on about showcasing Tasmania, and I think that's probably what we should have mentioned when you were saying, why did you get into it? Because I think that's really what it was about. We didn't want to show our faces really at the beginning because we weren't interested in that. I think I remember you saying something similar.
Yeah.
And for us, it was just about showing what a wonderful place Tasmania is. And it's still really the most important thing for us, more than us, you know. We're nothing special at all. We're not particularly good filmmakers. We're not particularly good runners. We're not particularly fast. You know, we're not the youngest around anymore. We're not, you know, any of those sort of things. So, but the thing that is outside all of that is just what a wonderful place it is. But no, we've got no background in filmmaking, and I look back at, you know, I look back to whichever film it was, going back to the beginning. You know, you see some things which you think are not too bad, but you see so many things where it's pretty cringeworthy. So you're trying to get to a stage where you don't have to cringe too much when you look back at it. I think that's what it's about.
I can relate to that. I must admit, I've never been one to watch back on my videos, but I have started to in the last 3 months. And actually, like you alluded to it just then by saying you wanted to keep a video diary. And that's really interesting, because that's not the reason I did it, to showcase the Forest of Dean, to say to people in the UK, hey, we've got this amazing place here with the most incredible trails. You've got Kenyan rolling hills here. You've got technical trails. You've got flat buffed out fire road. You've got everything you want. Come and visit. And so that was my initial starting point. And as I started making videos, I mean, it still makes me cringe now, but one of my most popular videos is my very first ever vlog, and it's so embarrassing and cringing, I just can't watch it. But as time goes on, whether I'm getting more used to seeing my ugly mug on the camera, I don't know, but I feel that I'm getting slightly less cringy. And I think that's a really good point, is that, like you said, I'm nothing special either. But so why would people want to see my face? But actually, you know, you're getting a little bit better when you present yourself a bit better on camera, and therefore you can sit and re-watch your film. So I'm able to now sit and watch probably maybe the last year or so, maybe 6 months, without cringing. Anything before that is horrific.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far I want to go back, but I'd recommend people to go back and have a look at our very first video, which was sort of me with a GoPro holding it at the scenery, you know, for hours on end. Well, I think about 5 minutes or something.
Yeah. No, that's the same here. So, okay, in which case, inspirations. Do you have any channels non-running related that are inspirational to you in terms of how people film, how they put the videos together? As I said a minute ago, you're really good at telling a story, naturally really good at telling a story. So have you got anything that you go to for inspiration?
I mean, like everybody else probably, Casey Neistat is been around forever, and he's sort of like the key guy, I think. But I don't think inspiration. Yeah, I don't think we're too influenced by him. I think somebody pointed out by the very first video that we put up a year and a half ago, whatever it was, there was some influence in the music. But Peter McKinnon, just the really nice way he goes about filming B-roll, and yeah, just gorgeous to watch. Mango Street, I love photographers, and one of the last videos we put out was sort of influenced a little bit by a video that we saw of Mango Streets. To like I think they're getting married, so a male and a female, both photographers do a really nice job. There's a few other people around, but we tend to have so little time in our lives that we don't end up watching an awful lot of YouTube as much as we want to. I look at my my queue, you know, of watch later. it's miles long.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I've tried. I used to be really good at watching loads of videos and keeping up to date with it, and life, as you said, life just sometimes throws you a curveball, or it changes, or routines change. I mean, for me in particular at the moment, my work is just taking over my life, and it makes it really difficult to piece together a piece of good film that you'd be proud of doing, and sitting down and editing it whilst having a family, whilst spending time with each other. Because suddenly, if you get into that routine, weeks go by and you realize you haven't come up for a breath of air, and it is crazy.
That's exactly right. I mean, that's what it's like for me. Out the door early to work and get back late and sit down at the computer and try and get a couple of hours into the next film.
And the run before the breakfast.
And then, yeah, of course, it run before the breakfast. Forgot about that. You know, I had to get up at 5 or whatever and run for whatever length of time, and be home by 7:30 almost. So time for breakfast and a big mug of coffee, and then off to work. And so, yeah, it's pretty busy.
Yeah, no, that's and it's nice that you alluded to those channels as well, because I mean, yeah, Casey Neistat is a brilliant vlogger. I watch him a lot, very inspirational in terms of the way, again, storytelling, just very good at it. Peter McKinnon, absolutely brilliant. Love his videos, his channel. He does shoots, and it's things like that. It's like I watch these things and I'll try them and I'll get them back to the computer and I'll have a play, and it just doesn't, I can't seem to get it how he does, but we'll get there one day. A couple of questions that are coming in whilst we're talking. In fact, one of them we've already answered, which was from Rich Bays 187. He said you have a background in filmmaking. Obviously, we've answered that. A Runner's Ramble wants to know, when you're vlogging or making videos, is there a plan in place before you create your content, or are you just kind of on the fly?
I think increasingly there's been a bit of a plan, hasn't there, of what we're going to do. There's usually, I mean, what we like to do is have one major run that we film, but you know, it's not always possible to get out and film stuff. And on those really, really cold days, to spend a long time out filming is it's getting less and less appealing.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It was hilarious because when you were doing that last one, the wind, you were talking to the camera and you said, "My face is going," or you couldn't speak, and I just thought you can relate to that so much with this winter. There'd be me holding my camera jabbering to it, and then suddenly the words would just become mush, and I would be like, realize that my face was becoming numb with the cold. It is really hard.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I seem to be particularly affected, but the only parts of me that get cold are my hands, where I have to have about 6 pairs of gloves on, which makes trying to, you know, press the button on the on the GoPro, incredibly difficult. And the other thing are my lips that just stopped working. And so, you know, two things I need. Yeah, anyway.
No, definitely. Okay, that's awesome. So, I mean, it's nice to know that you have, I mean, I must admit, I do try and sit down and think of a plan, I guess, at the beginning of the week, but sometimes with work and everything, it is pretty much, I have to fly by the seat of my pants and go for it. I know what I'd like to do, and 9 times out of 10 I can achieve that, but there are some weeks where it doesn't happen. If we move on to let's move on to the hardware and the software side of things, because I know this is a good bit that people like to know about. So can you give us a bit of a rundown of your kit list and what you film with, and then also what you edit with?
Yep, kit list, what we film with, if I could, I would film exclusively, do you want to grab it?
Yeah.
If I could, I'd film exclusively with this here, which is my favorite camera of all time. It was just such a beautiful, just so reliable. It's the Canon 5D Mark IV, films in 4K and 1080p at 60 frames a second, so it's sort of okay for slow-mo, but just the colors on that are really beautiful, and it's so easy to control. It's got a really nice dynamic range, so you don't get the really big difference between you don't get blown out highlights or really crushed blacks. You know, you've got a bit of room to move within that, and you can sort of dial back the exposure and then pull out the blacks again at the end of that. So I really love that. And we just picked up a gimbal recently, the Crane.
Oh.
Here we come, the Crane 2.
Wow.
Which is.
That's excellent.
But it's such a steep learning curve. You think, you know, you just put the camera on there and sort of point it, but the movements that you've got to make with that are so much different than you would move. You know, the way you move the camera is so much different. So that otherwise we just use a GoPro. We just use in fact we've got the Hero 5. I don't know whether I've got one here, but it's fallen down so many times, been blown over so many times. It's got gaffer tape wrapped all the way around it, and one of the microphones has stopped working. It's got a hole in the bottom where the little I think you can get replacement doors, but we haven't got around to doing that yet. So it's the dodgiest looking GoPro you've ever seen, but it still works. Yeah, and yeah, it's been really bashed about, and we stick that on a Gorilla Pod. A Joby Gorilla Pod,
okay.
quite a biggish one.
Yeah.
Because we like to, rather than running with the camera, we like to sort of stick the camera down and to sort of be able to frame the shot a bit better and that sort of thing. And we've got excuse me, we just got one of these, which is a Sony. We still haven't quite come to terms with this yet, worked out the best settings for that. We're still playing around with it. It's the Sony RX100 Mark V, and the idea there was we'd be able to play a little bit more with depth of field, whereas the GoPro, everything's sort of nicely in focus. That was the idea there, except the weather's been so nasty recently and it's not particularly waterproof. And
is that the one you did a comparison on the other week with the GoPro side by side?
It was, yeah. Which is fine when the weather's good, but it's little you probably can't see that there, but this is the record button. It's like minute, and when your fingers about sort of 6 inches thick with 3 pairs of gloves on, pretty difficult to operate. But we'll get that worked out sometime or other and be able to use that a bit more, hopefully, especially when the weather's a bit better. Otherwise, our kit's nothing really particularly special. It's just really a GoPro. We also on the drone, the Mavic Pro, which is also gone through quite a. I'd sort of fly it anywhere and in any conditions. You know, if it's raining, I'll put it up. If it's it was a really foggy, rainy day, really windy up in the mountain, and it came out. and yeah, it's crashed into so many trees.
I remember. Didn't you lose it once? You flew it and and it landed somewhere, and then you went hunting for it. One of your first videos, or a while ago.
That's true. Yeah. No, we'd put in the we'd gone and put it up, and the wind sort of took it in the wrong direction, and we turned around. We couldn't work out where it was, and it didn't want to come back. You know. And yeah, and then for some reason, you can usually look on the little map to see where it is, and all we could see was it was next to a road, but didn't know which road.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I mean that's not too bad. At least you can sort of find it again. But so many times we've just slammed into a tree, but you know that's how you sort of get some more interesting shots by flying through trees or. But you know I'm the world's worst drone pilot. But.
And sort of software-wise, what software do you use?
Premiere Pro and After Effects is my. I found it really difficult when I first got it. I thought Premiere Pro. Everybody talks about Premiere Pro and Adobe products, and I opened it up the very first time. I thought, what on earth are you meant to be doing? I couldn't even work out how to get the footage into it. You know? But I just love it now, and I've sort of got all my little shortcuts worked out so that I don't have to do things the long way. And then I use the what's it called, the dynamic bridge, and probably I'd say about 30 or 40% of the shots are sort of then I've fiddled with those in After Effects and put in text and do some motion tracking and whatever else it is that I do in there. So there'd be those, mostly Adobe products. I do have also, what's it called, Final Cut Pro, but Final Cut, is it called that? Final Cut 10.
Yeah, I think so.
But I don't use it. There's a new one that Resolve looks pretty good, but I haven't. No, I just stick with Premiere Pro. I know how to use it, and it's pretty powerful.
That is so cool. I mean, that gimbal, the size of that gimbal is crazy. And that, you say it's nothing special, but that's an impressive kit list for someone like me, or for a lot of vloggers, I guess. We just have a GoPro and that's about it, really. I had to, on my recent Scotland video, use my phone because I left my GoPro at home, and that records in 4K, but I really don't enjoy recording on my phone if I can have to.
So we started it.
Any more questions, guys? Whilst we're going through, I just wanted to jump in and say quickly, because we have got Mark Ensby on, who has just jumped on and said Tassie represents. So he says hello. Runners Ramble says he needs to get hold of one of those cameras. You definitely do, mate. And Jeffrey says, I agree, vlogging on a GoPro just doesn't cut it. Now, I've looked at, because GoPro, the thing with the GoPro is, the sound for me, it's the sound. It's very, no matter what version you go to or how you try and adapt it, the GoPro sound is very tinny, I always find, and it doesn't matter what you do, it sounds as if you're talking into a bean can. And I just, you watch, as I said, videos like yours, and it's completely different. Now, I have noticed some external microphones you can get for GoPros. I've got no idea how good they are, but I think really if you want to take that step up for vlogging within your videos and just being a little bit more crisp and clear, I don't think GoPro is the way forward. I think you definitely need to look at either something like the Sony or your other beast of a Canon for sure.
It's not it's nothing you can really take with you though. I mean, tucking that into the side of your race vest is not all that practical.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't work.
But we've our audio remains the thing that I'm probably least satisfied with, I think. Is the GoPro, as you say, particularly now with so much gaffer tape around it, it's closed up some of the little microphone holes on it. So we use a little zoom. This is just the Zoom H1. So if some people are looking fairly closely, they might see this sticking out. So when I have got the, I've got the little, I'll do it sideways maybe so you can see. So if I've got the camera out in front of me, I'll often have that stuck in there with the camera pointing out this way, and then talk into the microphone. It's not linked to the GoPro, but then you can sync it in post. afterwards.
Clever. And that's how you get such good sound quality.
Occasionally, but our sound is, as I say, still a thing where I'm probably least satisfied with the audio because, as you say, the GoPro is so poor, and very often I forget to turn this microphone on.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
It is, yeah.
When you're out running, it's very difficult to tick all the boxes of quality. I think you tick. I personally think you tick all of them, but I think as you go through a checklist, you're thinking, if I'm running and I'm filming, I'm either going to put the camera down and try and get some, shots of me running past whatever. I'm going to try and hold it and run. So I want it to be stable. I want to make sure my face is in the camera, and you can't see if your face is in the camera with a GoPro. You just got to point and hope. And you've got to hope the sound is good, and it's such a minefield of things. And again, like I've got a mini Gorilla Pod or a couple of handles that I use. Sometimes if I'm going to do a speed workout, I want to take it out and record between reps. I just want to stuff it in my pocket, and then it's like, am I going to get the webbing of my fingers in the camera? And it's just it's a nightmare. I have had a funny question. Which Mark has answered for Rich, but Rich said, are Tasmanian devils actually real? And Mark said, they sure are. They're small but very scary.
And they, I don't know, Mark might be able to confirm this, but they do spin around in circles really quickly, just like they show on the cartoons.
That is amazing. That is awesome. What have we got? Rich says, totally agree. The GoPro sound is poor, and strapping on the external mic defeats the whole object of an action camera, but then I struggle to make a race video with a Canon. Yeah, exactly. So a runner's ramble wants to know, do you film using specific settings when using the Canon? I.e., have you got default settings that you set up and go?
Yeah, we're sort of fiddling with a picture profile, like a really flat picture profile at the moment. Still not 100% happy with it. We've modify. I don't know heaps about it, but I've been watching a few YouTube videos to try and find out about things like black gamma levels and knees and all those sorts of things that were up until recently a bit of a something I knew nothing about really. But yeah, we tend to use is it based on picture profile too, and then change some of the levels and the black levels and gammas, and then different film. I think we're using Cine at the moment, Cine 2. I'll have to check. I've got them written down somewhere, but yeah, we do.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I suppose as you get used to using something, you find, like you said with the Premiere Pro, you kind of get little shortcuts and things that you get used to doing, and I guess it becomes second nature, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, second nature, but it still takes much too long. I mean, if I could cut my editing time down by half, I'd probably still be stressed.
Right, guys, listen, final question for you before we wrap this up. So obviously any of you watching in the comments, feel free to whack any final questions in there, and I will ask them quickly after this. Top tips for people's YouTube channels, top tips for filming in general. I'm not necessarily going to say growing subscribers, because that is something I don't really like to talk about. I think it's more about improving your videos. Have you got any top tips for people that want to improve the quality? Anything you've picked up, any tips along the way that you could share without giving away your trade secrets?
I don't think we've really got an awful lot of trade secrets. I think that people, I don't know, I can just sort of speak for ourselves. We just do what we like, and if other people like it, then we hope that other people will like what we're doing, I suppose. So I suppose the thing is to just don't try to copy other people, but try to do just what you like to do, and try and do that well. I think that's probably the main thing, but I guess most people know that anyway. Do what you love doing, you know, rather than what you think is going to get you more views.
I think that's key, because I think a lot of people, I think we're in like a niche area, runners, especially with trying to film. I don't think you're in an area where, like gaming, like lifestyle vlogs, like whatever, where your fan base or your subscribers will go like that. You know, it is much more slow and steady. But I think, as you say, I don't think it's about increasing numbers. I think it's about getting more people engaged. I think it's about looking in your analytics maybe sometimes and going, how long have I how's my video done in terms of engagement? Have people enjoyed it? Is there a section where they maybe have dropped off in the video? Is there something that they haven't liked? And I think, as you say, great point there was do it because you love it, or do what you love doing. Because if you don't love doing it, it will show. You know, the camera doesn't lie. You can put a smile on, but you can see right through it if you're enjoying it or not, and you can see where passion comes from, and that is highlighted in your channel. When you tell this story, you're just passionate about those trails, where you live, climbing mountains, dodging snakes, or worrying about snakes, you know, just everything. You've just put so much passion into it, and I think that's a great point. If you try and copy someone else and you don't enjoy it, then find something running related that you do enjoy talking about, whether it's just sitting there in your office talking in front of a camera, whether it's taking people out, doing specific things, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, for us too, it's not just the running. We love the film. We love the filming process. There's nothing nicer than having a camera in your hand often, you know, and then sitting down to edit that. I just, you know, if I'm not under too much time stress, I just love editing and spending much too long on one clip, on the little things that probably nobody ever notices, but I notice when I look, you know, watch it back, that
you know what, it's the little things that make your video. And I think you've got to, you know, people might not notice that one little tiny thing that you might have done, but it's all those little details that you take care of in that editing section, which makes the whole thing just mind-blowing. So that's awesome, guys. Thank you very much. The chat is going great. They're just talking between themselves about videos, things. Oh, Travel Runner has just dropped in. Andy, mate, welcome. Don't worry, you can rewatch it. He has said he loves your stuff, Northern Flow. I'll have to go back and watch this episode as I've missed most of it. Yes, you will, mate. It's been fantastic. We'll leave it there, guys. I think that is, yeah, everyone's saying thank you very much. So, yeah, thank you so much for giving your time up to the guys and talking to us.
Really appreciate it, and thanks too for all the people in the chat. We haven't seen any of that, but we'll go back and have a look at it. I guess that sometime or other will be in there, no doubt, will it?
Yeah, and, I think when you replay the video, there's a live chat replay, so you can go through and watch what everyone's talking about. I haven't been able to pick out everything. There's lots of there's still conversations going on about Tasmanian devils, which is hilarious. So you'll have to go back and look at that. But listen, guys, thank you so much again, and thank you all very much for watching today. Really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Let me know you're enjoying this series, and obviously our guests today. Massive thanks to Flo and Nord. Their link for the channel, their channel will be in the description of this video once this has been processed. All that's left for me to say, guys, once again, is thank you very much for coming on. And to all the viewers, you know what to do. If you enjoy this video, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. And I will see you later this week for week 5 of the Trail Marathon Training Series. Until then.